Agent Albatross here again with the Cypher Unlimited crew. We have our usual suspects of AD or Alpha Dean all the way over there. We have Anthony or Spigs18 to my left here, or right, whatever. And yeah, welcome. Dean, what are we doing here today?
Well, as usual, we been around the block a couple of times, and we found this really eerie, creepy, crazy house, the darkest house, and we got introduced to it. And luckily, we made it out. So that's what we're here to talk about tonight. We're gonna get into the ins and outs, the ups and downs, and Monte Cook's new Kickstarter that's coming our way. And
Yep, like Dean said, we're here to discuss and talk about our experiences getting to playtest, Monte Cook Games' latest project, The Darkest House. I'm going to quote Charles Ryan, the COO of MCG. The Darkest House is a digital product designed for the needs of a game being run and played online and built to take maximum advantage of that mode of play. Think of it like a RPG book been reimagined from the ground up for the online environment, with pages formatted for your screen, easily shareable resources, no page flipping, intuitive navigation, and additional features that just make online games easier. They take advantage of its unique nature to deliver a better RPG experience. Your players may find The Darkest House a daunting challenge, but you'll find it amazingly easy to GM. So, this is like truly a unique project by MCG. It has a system agnostic approach. It's giving you the ability to port any characters from multiple systems. It has an easy 5-minute conversion rule set up. It can be played, to play it in this virtual adventure, you can add months of gameplay to your current campaign, or be a game played on its own if so desired. The product is going to be an electronic app that connects to one of MCG's servers. It's a fast-paced and easy to understand rules. It has so many tools like map links, digital handouts, images to share, and of course rules for the GM's disposal to enhance the game experience. The expected Kickstarter project is to come out around March 16th, I believe, with a full release sometime in May. So that leads me to believe that this project is almost entirely complete. So Dean, Al, let's talk about our experiences with The Darkest House.
Well, firstly, y'all will be discussing your experiences with The Darkest House because I have not entered it yet. I was a coward. I ran away scared, tail between my legs. I was not ready to face the challenges. But you guys did. You guys faced the challenges of The Darkest House. So let's just dive right in and start talking about it. So what were your first impressions of the game, and who did you play test with? I'll let either of you go first.
go ahead, Ant.
Before I go first, Kazarak, I have to double check, but I do not think that you need to be online. I think I took that bit of information about the MCG servers from one of the older posts, but when I spoke to Bruce during my playtest, he didn't mention anything of that, so I don't want to give any false information, but I'm not entirely sure. I guess we'll find out on March 6th. On March 16th, I don't think you have to be connected to a server. You could just have it downloaded onto your, but it's meant for online play, so it's probably best utilized online. But I'm not entirely sure if that's the case. So I'll go first, I guess. I got to play test with two wonderful people. I play tested with Zach Norton from Manapod Studios. You may know him as the GM from the Invisible Sun Twitch stream, The Hole in the World. We interviewed him before. Awesome guy. Had a great time. And the author, game designer, Angel Lee McCoy. She was awesome. And our GM was the senior game designer for Monte Cook Games and tabletop legend, Bruce Cordell. I had an awesome time. First off, I think Bruce did a great job. He allowed us to take our characters and go in any direction we wanted, which I always appreciate from a GM. You know, me, Angel, and Zach, we went in some zany directions with our characters, and he just let us go with it. So that was awesome. My first impression was, wow, you know, because it was so easily for him to transfer information. You know, we weren't using any VTT. We were just playing off of Zoom, and you know, he was, you know, every time he mentioned something, he had an image to show us, and he just, you know, gave us a link. You click on the link, you saw the image. He had handouts that worked the same way. So yeah, my first impression was, wow, you know, this is really well designed. I really enjoyed my experience. We played for about 2 hours, and then we had a Q&A for an hour after that. So, you know, yeah, I really enjoyed my experience, and I think Zach and Angel did as well.
So I have one quick question. I know it's a silly one, but it wasn't specifically stated. What system did you guys use to play?
That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it's agnostic. So what system did you guys play in?
No,
it's by itself, or?
Well, no. The characters were converted from D&D and Cypher system.
Okay, cool.
And
Gotcha.
but they've already stated that it'll be able to handle other games. I guess the conversion methodology is very simple. It allows you to convert the characters so they function, but all your abilities and everything that you have on your character sheet are there, which is really cool. And it's really cool how you can tell where the characters came from just because of the abilities that they have. But they work in the Darkest House.
Gotcha.
But Al, just to clarify a little, it has its own rule set.
Gotcha. Okay, there we go. That's what I was missing with that link there. Awesome. Okay, cool.
It has its own rule set. What it does is we didn't get privy to see it, but there's a conversion table for multiple systems that you take your existing character and you convert it to this quick and easy rule set. And then when the adventure is done, you know, you could take your character out and they'll go back to their normal character sheet.
And the other cool thing is that this can be dropped into any game that you're playing. So this could happen in the middle of your existing campaign. Oh, and by the way, I played with Trevor Henderson. He's a horror illustrator and comic book cover illustrator. He does concept work, character design, pretty cool. And John Joseph Adams, American science fiction fantasy editor, critic, and publisher. So those are the two guys I played with. And like Anthony said, completely free to do what you wanted to do. Absolute zaniness.
Who was your GM?
Oh man, none other than Charles Ryan. Charles, and you know, we know Charles is the COO of Monte Cook Games. But I have to tell you guys, Charles is probably one of the best GMs out there. Charles is awesome. He's written some great adventures for Monte Cook Games. So yeah, you know, definitely a great game. First impressions overall, I kind of look with Anthony with the whole WoW thing. I didn't know what to expect walking through the door, you know, but once I was there, it was like, okay, I can get with this. And it was quick. It was quick. It was fast. It was different, enjoyable. It's one of those things that, in my opinion, any GM, you know, having this in their toolkit, this is great. This is a great thing to throw in the middle of your game. If, let's just say, everybody can't make it to a session, or if you just need to break the monotony of what's been going on. You know, and the coolest part about it is nobody has to make a brand new character. There's not a huge learning curve. You know, it plug and play is literally what it is.
So another question I have then is, so you're saying you could just drop this within a campaign, right? So
Yes.
how would that fit within the canon of the game you're currently playing? Did they stumble upon a haunted house?
Yeah.
Are they transported to another dimension? What is it?
Well,
Just
that's
up
the
to the
whole
player?
point.
GM is all right. Yeah, I'll let you.
We can't.
The house shows up. I mean, the way it was given us is that the house is anywhere.
Okay.
It can show up anywhere.
I mean, we can't speak for how each individual GM will implement implement this into their their own campaign. But the way it was presented to us in the playtest is that this mysterious house showed up in. We were playing fantasy characters in the middle of the town where our characters happened to reside in. It just appeared.
And the
And
way it
so,
was presented to us was that we were hired by a local lord to investigate this strange house.
yeah, that same thing with us. We were
Yeah.
told to go we were like the neighboring adventuring guild, and we were told hired to go investigate it.
You guys,
Cool.
But that's open to any GM.
Yeah,
in Razagan, yes, it could be a one shot or it could be a full scenario because the way it's designed, this could be something that you have your players back and forth into and out of. There's a lot of cool little nuance.
I wouldn't say that it's a one-shot material because it's the way it was presented to me, it's over 90 hours of gameplay. So
Well,
less than one
it
shot
could
is,
be it could be a one shot. I mean, there's 90 hours of gameplay available, but it just depends on how you want to handle it.
So
Because you could have them. Excuse me.
No, I was just saying. So I don't want to cut off your point with the 90 hours of gameplay, but just that specific wording puts me in the mindset of. So this is basically like a system, like its own system, but it's like its own pre-written adventure too that has 90
Yes.
hours worth of content.
Yes.
all right. Since let's not get ahead of ourselves. Right?
Yeah.
Since it's a system agnostic
Yes.
approach to gameplay, the way it was perceived to me and the way I think is designed is that it's like a reprieve from either your current campaign if you're running a long-standing campaign and you need to fill in 2 or 3 sessions of additional content. This is quick plug and play. It takes 5 minutes to convert the characters, and it's convertible from D&D, Pathfinder, Savage Worlds, of course, Cypher System. You can take any of those characters. It gives you a way of a quick and easy conversion. You convert them into the Darkest House mechanics, which is very simple. We'll get to that later, and you immediately go into adventuring in this adventure scenario. But it can also be used as creating characters just for the Darkest House, and just getting 50, 60 hours of gameplay in that. That is your campaign.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The way I see it, because of the flexibility of it and everything else, that's what I'm saying. You could run it as a full campaign. You could literally throw your characters in there and run a full campaign through the Darkest House, or you could have it be some weird thing because of the way I'm just saying, because just how my brain works when I start thinking about it. This could be something that I do. Okay, guess what? Like I said, we're playing. We're 5 sessions in. We need a break. We need to change the pace. Boom, Darkest House shows up. Now you are all imprinted on the Darkest House. You know what? You do that adventure that week. You wake up. Was it a bad dream? What happened? I'm back in my real world. I'm back in my normal character land. My normal gameplay. You know what? Then 6 sections later, guess what? You wake up again. You find yourself back in the Darkest House. So it's just really how you want to implement it into your world. But there is, like you said, and then that 90 hours of gameplay can also be very inspiring for even more gameplay. It's very organic. If you're into horror movies and stuff like that and into horror, horror in general, this thing is jam-packed full of inspiration and ideology.
Awesome. Yo, so you guys kind of already are speaking of it in sort of a positive light, but let's talk more specifically about how it's a system agnostic game. What do you guys think about that? Do you think it was the right move? Would you prefer to just be straight Cypher system? What do you guys think about that whole implementation of the agnostic side?
Personally,
go ahead, dude.
I would just say personally for me, it's great. I think the reality of them, we say system agnostic, but I guess that might be a little bit of a misnomer, because you're literally converting whatever system to it because it has its own system of play. So, but because it's so simple and easy, I think the approach is awesome because then it becomes useful for so many more games. We're living in a digital age. Everybody's got to be online to play. I think this was pretty damn brilliant overall because now you get to touch, everybody out there. This is something that, no matter what game you're playing, no matter, whether you're playing a sci-fi game or whatever, this still works.
Nice.
I think that this approach, I think this is kind of revolutionary when it comes to building adventures. I think this is going to be a new way to look at how game designers are going to implement like adventures in the digital space. So instead of concentrating on, I have this really cool adventure and then I have to do multiple versions of conversions of this great adventure like Tomb of Horrors, say, or like any of the great famous adventures that we've had throughout the years. This will be a way that they'll create a simple rule set and then create a conversion table. So it'll be like, hey, I don't have to learn a new system if I want to play this cool adventure. And this may be the first game the MCG is doing with this model, but I got a feeling that it won't be the last. Ooh. And I'm really interested to see how, like we only played 2 hours worth of this, but I'm really interested to see how the overall product is going to be, because I think this could be very revolutionary.
Awesome. Yeah, this is all sounding amazing. And just for pure transparency, even though it's probably pretty obvious, I did not speak to these guys about this product before doing this interview. It's all straight new information to me, and it sounds incredible. Like, I'm super excited to see, this firsthand and see what it's like.
And for the record, Al was invited to the playtest. Just scheduling conflicts didn't work out.
Yeah, no,
I just want to address some of the things that people were saying out there.
Dean, before you go down that rabbit hole, let's hit our points, because a lot of the questions that are being asked are in our points.
Okay.
But either way, we already spoke a little bit about, what the Darkest House is, the setting, just a little bit. But could you guys tell us a little more in depth about the juicy bits of the lore or whatever that got you hooked, or what your specific experience was like within your game? Like, what kind of zaniness did y'all get into? How did the system facilitate all that? Did it all feel very nice to play? All that sort of stuff.
Well, the biggest thing I can say about the setting or the concept is that it's a haunted house. It's a horror. It's horror. So, of course, like when we first started, there was, the big consent ideology thrown out there. This is horror. We're going to be talking about insects and maybe some body horror and so on and so forth. Do you have problems? So that's kind of built right into it. The other thing about it is that, it's a complete story in of itself. So this haunted house, you have five sections to it, based on, the family members, who, or we don't know exactly, because we never got far enough to get that deep into the story. But there's this there's like this big juicy lore that you kind of want to go through the entire scenario so you can find the answer, so you can get all the storyline, so you're talking about just like for me alone, one of the coolest things for me was my character was a half elven sorcerer, and there was a scene in the game where Charles asked me, give me a character memory or someplace that's, dear to your character, and so I designed, right off the top of my head, I came up with this magical grove that our people will go to meditate and so on and so forth. Next thing I know, it's in the house. It's behind one of the doors of the house. But then, Charles goes on to say that, when this happens in game, that place literally disappears from your world and it's there. So now you're connecting it to the bigger picture. So it's like just like stuff like that was really cool, you know.
To touch on a little bit of the setting of the house, of the Darkest House, it's broken down into 5 groups, 5 different family members that, you know, uh, what you call a habitat, the house, or members of the house. You have the mother, the father, the brother,
The
right?
sister, then the lover.
sister, and the lover, right? And
The
each one of
lover?
those, each one of those characters are like part of a portion of the house, right? And each portion of the house has a whole set of hours of gameplay. So the playtest concentrated on the sun section, and like I said, we played for 2 hours and we barely touched 3 rooms, I think. So
I think that's how we got through too. Was like 3 or 4 rooms.
So that tells you the scope of the adventure to begin with. You know what I mean? If it's broken down into 5 sections and each section has a ton of hours of gameplay, it's really interesting. I love the fact that how spooky it was. The house reacts to you. So whatever actions you take, forces the house to change the narrative, almost like GM intrusions. We'll get to that in the mechanics portion, but almost like GM intrusions. So the house is almost like its own character. So it was very, very appealing to me for someone that likes free forming narratives. This is definitely the game to play.
And I mean, and we said 5 characters, but you're right. The house in of itself is another character, and as the way Charles put it, the house hates you. So,
no, that's the last thing you want is a haunted house hating you.
Oh, that house hates you. So,
But actually, that Anthony, I think that's a good segue into actually talking about the mechanics. We can talk about the other thing a little later. So yeah, why don't we dig right into that? Can you tell us a little bit about what mechanics you learned while playing? You said something about the house changing the narrative on you?
Yeah, okay, so I don't think we got to play test all the mechanics, but the core base of the mechanics is very simple and elegant. It uses 3d6, 2d6 for your character, and 1d6, which is called the house
it's actually
die.
4d6.
Okay.
Yeah, but you're only technically rolling. Yeah, you're supposed to have 4d6, but
you gotta have 4d6 because sometimes you might end up rolling 4.
But
Very rarely. Very rarely.
Just have them on deck is what you're saying.
Yeah.
But you the majority of the time you roll in 3d6. Right? You roll 2d6 for your actions, and the house roll. You roll a d6 house die, and anytime that house die is higher than any of your die, the house gets a free action. Which at first I thought, hey, this isn't going to happen a lot, but it happened more than 2/3 of the time we were rolling. You know what I mean? So it kind of changed a lot of what was happening in the game. And the characters are very similar to Cypher. You roll into a target number. You doing, the GM does a roll. You roll into a target number, and you have different abilities. And the difference between Cypher and the Darkest House is you roll into your abilities as opposed to the monster's abilities. In Cypher you roll towards the NPC's target number.
Yeah.
In this you roll to your target number. So if you have if you have Fireball at target 3, then you're rolling to that.
Oh, I kind of dig that. That seems pretty simple to teach a new person.
There is most of the time, like Anthony said, but then sometimes there is a target number on the other side.
Okay.
Or the way Charles explained it. Sometimes there's a target on the other side that you're rolling towards, and also you also get what they call banes and boons.
I forgot about that.
Which is a pretty solid mechanic too, because what a bane does is first of all it allows you to roll an extra die. And it allows you to discard the lowest die to get that's what a boon does. And with a bane, you roll an extra die, but then that makes you discard your highest die. So exactly, banes and boons work like that.
And the way your character sheet has, you usually have something with a bane and something with a boon. on your character sheet, or at least all the pre-gens we saw had that.
Yeah, you know.
Also, the GM does not roll dice.
Yeah, no dice for the GM.
The player rolls the house dice every time.
Thank you for that follow-up answer.
Yeah.
I was just gonna ask that. Hey, Eric. But this sounds amazing. Was there any sort of like combat mechanics or anything like that, or is it all dealt with in the similar fashion of, hey, you're rolling to your abilities, target number?
That was the combat mechanic.
Oh, okay, cool.
That's the mechanic.
So overarching, just for everything. Yeah. Okay, cool. And is it Is it? I'm assuming so, but very like theory of the mind when it comes down to things like that. There's no like maps or anything, or does the app come with some sort of map? Like fill in my knowledge here.
App comes with tons of visuals. Yeah. Not necessarily maps, but you do have huge room images and they're evocative. They're there to evoke the setting, the feel. Like we went into this one room that was dark, but it had this massive tree in the room. The tree looked like it was dead or petrified. But then when you got in the room, you realize that the tree, you didn't know if the tree was a shadow or what, but it starts moving, it's alive. And then you got some ghostly guy in the corner, you know, dropping bugs, centipedes and millipedes and spiders and, you know, all sorts of creepy crawly, night creeper type bugs. And he's just dumping this stuff into this, 6-inch pool of water, never paying you any attention. But then, you know what? The tree starts reaching for you. And it's hungry, it's like I said, but there's pictures to evoke the descriptions.
So remember in when we did our ranking video and we talked about how Invisible Sun has all these immersive like handouts and to add to the ambiance of the gameplay. Well, The Darkest House has that plus 10.
Ooh,
you know what I mean?
That's exciting.
Picture having a digital adventure where every image in the book could easily be handed out to the players just by clicking a button.
Nice. That's amazing.
I also viewed it for the GM that isn't great at being descriptive. He or she or they could immediately put the image on whatever VTT you're using or whatever, tabletop or whatever.
Or you can just share it through your Zoom. You can just share it through the app.
Whatever chat you're using, just post it up and just allow the player to see. We had like 5 or 6 handouts, and like I said, we played in only 3 rooms of this massive game, and Bruce had like 5 or 6 handouts he was able to share. That tells you the scope of stuff that you're gonna get with this product.
Yeah, that's freaking awesome. And I actually had this question also, but the Infinite Construct asked it. Do the players have to connect through any app, or is it just the GM like sharing links, or is it GM the only person looking at the app?
Sharing links.
Okay. The GM he shares. You can share whatever depending on, and like you said, it works however you want because, we were shown how you could do it with links. You can show how, like, if we're using Zoom, we could just use share screen. It's really cool. It's really and easy. It's quick.
And since if you're using Roll20 or Fantasy Ground, you could take all the images and just put them in. Easily convert everything. They're all JPEG files. You can move it all over to Roll20. All the handouts. So if you're more comfortable using Roll20 or Fantasy Ground or any of the other VTTs, you could do it that way as well.
And Kazarek, to answer your question, only one, as we were presented to us, only one person needs to own it. Only the GM needs to own it. Everybody doesn't need to buy.
Yeah, and the GM is I think it was broken down into 3 parts. I believe it's broken down into the adventure itself, a GM section and a player section. And the player section could be shared with multiple people.
Nice.
And the cool part about the player section too is that it has its own built-in like fog of war type, stuff. Because like if you open up the image to a room and you want the room dark, or it's not supposed to be seen right away until a light source is introduced, it has all of those functionalities built right into it.
That sounds super nice.
I mean, just for the record, I didn't personally see any of that, but I was told it was going to be there, and I have no reason to doubt that
Well,
it was
I got to see it in one room with the tree. That's why it was creepy.
Oh, he actually saw it firsthand. That's awesome. I do have a follow up for this mechanics based section we're in, only because Eric's asking something that's in a similar vein, if this is standalone or whatever. But either way, what I wanted to ask was, did you guys see firsthand what the mechanics transfer or conversion thing is like? So if you're transferring or converting from D&D or anything like that, or did you already see the converted pre-gens?
We saw the converted pre-gens. I mean, I can't speak for Dean. I saw the converted pre-gens, and I was told it was converted from 5e. So, like I think that's the one thing that I'm most interested in seeing, because just the gamer nerd in me just wants to see how it's done, especially to see how multiple systems are going to be able, like how they're going to tier up a 10th level Pathfinder character to a 10th level Savage Worlds character. Like, I'm really curious to see how that's going to be handled. So I'm looking forward to that, to be honest.
Yeah, it's definitely a super interesting facet, and that's actually honestly what I was hoping, that you actually had a hand in it, right? But I have another quick follow-up for it. So you said you played converted D&D characters, right? Did they feel...
D&D,
oh,
there was D&D and 2 D&D characters and 1 Cypher character.
okay, cool.
Oh, I didn't know that.
The what's the name character? Stebbin was a Cypher system. Yeah, it's a Cypher system character.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought they were all 5e.
But
No, 2 5e, 1 dwarf.
the follow-up for it was, did they feel like they played from their systems? Like, did you feel like a sorcerer from 5e or whatever? Like, does it keep that same essence? Like, do you still feel like your character from the game that you're from?
I mean, I played the sorcerer. It's funny you mentioned that. And, I had all the sorcerer spells. I had, they were broken down into spell slots and spell levels. I had, certain spells I could use per day. So it definitely felt 5e. It felt, like traditional Vancian magic. So, like from that standpoint, absolutely.
And see, and I'll come from the other side of that coin. Since I've kind of stepped away from that whole ideology of system-driven gaming, I like the fact that, that aspect was there. You could see it, but it didn't feel like I was dealing with a system-driven. I was really able to jump into the narrative. The narrative was where it was at. So they did an excellent job of letting you be able to see where you came from, because the sorcerer and the dwarf, and I made a mistake, it was the sorcerer and the dwarf that were the D&D characters. And then the human character, the human athletic character, was an explorer character from Cypher system, but their essences were still there. You could see where they came from, how they were built, and be okay being able to jump in and have fun.
Awesome. Yeah, that really nails what I was asking, that you still get the essence, the feel of your character from the other system, even though you're now in this Darkest House rule set. That's so awesome. I'm super excited to get a peek at this stuff myself. But let's move it along here. I forget what we had next on deck for you. Oh yeah, so you already touched on it a little bit with like the dynamic lighting images and how you can convert all this stuff from the app into like your VTTs. Do you guys think that there's gonna be a need for a specific VTT, and what do you guys think about the digital tools as a whole?
I don't think there's.
Okay, dude.
Basically, I was saying I don't think there's going to be any specific VTT. I think the way it's built is that it's built to not need a VTT at all. First of all, what was the second part of your question?
Just your overall feel, or how you feel about the digital aspect of the product.
Yeah, the digital aspects, I think it's cool. You know what? I didn't know what to expect going in, so I went in with a completely open mind about it. I think this approach, I think this might end up being something that starts to happen, not so much being just for the Darkest House. I think other games might start to adopt this to put out like adventures and stuff like that, because it's kind of it's much more, it takes advantage of the digital world, that we're living in. It takes advantage of how we're communicating today and how people are gaming, and it makes it easier. I can actually see companies trying to adopt this methodology to sell you adventures now. I'm going to sell you a digital adventure, and this is how you're going to be able to present it to your people. So that's what I see happening.
That's actually super awesome. Like, this is like we're seeing it firsthand happening, the evolution of the old pre-written adventures to this more interactive, like, I don't even know what you call it, event. Like, I don't even know. But either way,
it's almost like a choose your own adventure, but RPG form. You know what I mean? I think that, like, to answer your digital tools question, right? I think that this is a totally innovative way of presenting a written adventure online. Like, it has all these like little things that are just hella cool. Like, Bruce was showing us that he could like move his mouse over an image, and immediately you get the text as a GM of what's in that area in the image.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like zero looking up. It's going to be so easy to run this. You can read it one time, and if you ever forget anything, just move your mouse over to the general area where it's at, and it's gonna pop up.
It's got notes. It's got notes for you on all this stuff.
Giving you the notes.
And Eric, yes, it does have tons of replayability for the simple fact, first of all, it's 90 hours of content, the way they have it set up. But the replayability is definitely there because who's going to do the same thing the same way. Different characters are going to respond differently to the house. There are going to be things that people are going to glaze over. I mean, one of the coolest things they told us about, me and Anthony were talking about it, and they said we could share it. They've got this, I don't want to share it, but I do want to share it because it's like cool. There's a room where there's an artist, the art room, and there's an artist, and they'll draw a picture of you. Your character falls unconscious, and then the picture they drew takes over, and that's your character now. It has all your memories. It is you, and this thing is in control. But if you ever destroy it, when you destroy it, if that character is brought to 0 points, when it dies, it just falls into its component parts, into the paint. The oil paints fall on the ground, and you wake up. Now, just imagine if you go through the entire adventure. This is something that you go through the entire adventure, and your character ends up getting out, and you're playing. This is your character, even in the other game you were playing. He dies, he turns into paint, and your character wakes up still in the house. So it's like, I think that's one of the cool. This is just a cool little nuancy thing, but
to go back to the question, right? And I can finish my statement, but it doesn't need a VTT. It can be run on any platform, right? I think it actually works better without a VTT because we played it without a VTT, and I think it's a lot easier to run it, without using a virtual. I think there might be more work using a VTT. I mean, once again, I could be wrong. That's just my initial impression. And to answer another question is, yeah, it does advertise that, it's easily convert other games to it, but it does have its own rule set, and it will have rooms to create characters in that rule set. So you don't, I know that it's a big selling point, I think, to use another game system, but you can play it without having, having to convert characters. Because I noticed that was asked several times in the chat.
It's awesome that it's also going to be used to as a standalone thing if you so choose. And that's just, someone mentioned in the chat that Monte Cook has really polished that low prep, like low effort, like it's all on you to make it, like, I don't know, easy for yourself to do the things. Like, it's so nice that they allow this flexibility that you can choose how you want to approach the game that you're playing at hand. It's nice. But yeah, I think we can move it along here. And I think you guys kind of mentioned it. I know Anthony did. Is there anything you wished you had learned a little more about from the project in your playthrough?
For me, it's easy. I wanted to see the character creation. Like, I wanted to see from both sides. You know, with a playtest, you're using a demo character. So it's, you know, it's hard. I always like to see character creation in any game. So, I mean, that's the thing I'm looking forward to the most. So, I mean, for me, it was, I would like to have seen the conversion table and the character creation.
Same thing for me, because you know, as much as I like making characters, that's always, you know, a huge point. So
I think that would be my.
I really can't. I mean, because I mean, everything else they kind of give you a preview of, like we were talking about. You know, they show you the hover over a room and or an object or whatever, gives you notes, and the fact that you got that sort of dynamic lighting things. I mean, there might be other things. Oh, because I asked Charles about is there a connectivity for like music and stuff like that, you know, and he just kind of smiled and said, "Wait for the Kickstarter." So, you know, there's probably going to be all of those aspects that you can have, you know, strange background music, you know, connected to your different rooms, and you know, so when you click that room, this music starts. You know, I'm just thinking about stuff like that that'll probably, you know, come along with the play, you know, with the product itself.
Yeah, and like what Dean said earlier, I think that you're gonna see. I truly believe that this is gonna be like the first wave of doing digital adventures. I think this is gonna revolutionize not only what MCG is doing, but what a lot of other companies are doing. Because this is gonna make it so much easier for a GM to run a pre-written adventure. It's ridiculous. You have almost zero prep.
Yeah,
And
oh, go ahead.
go ahead, Al.
No, I would just say it's all sounding super awesome. Like, and again, it does like go after seeing this product come out. How can you move forward and not try to emulate something like this with your like pre-written? Like, it's just like you said, it might become like it's going to revolutionize things. I think so too. Again, if it's executed well, and Monte Cook has a good track record with their execution, so should be nice.
And as far as Infinite Construct, as far as you're talking about how would it fit into a science fantasy setting, the way it's built, it doesn't make a difference what the setting is. It's a horror house. So guess what? You can build it however you want. You know, it's going to give you those elemental pieces, but you know what? Maybe, you know, if you want to do it in Numenera, you know, it's something from the seventh world, you know, or whatever. You know, somebody else said, well, how would it fit into the Strange? It could be a recursion, you know. It doesn't really make a difference what setting it is. It literally is going to be whatever it's going to be the way it's built, you know. So it like I said, plug and play. And you know, I can't see how this, you know, couldn't be used to start, you know, putting out some crazy digital adventures, you know. And the reality of it is, for guys like me and Ant, who, you know, like to improv and stuff, to have something like this, it would be sick. I could see us, you know, having like an ultimate fun with this thing, you know. So,
Yeah, I think it's like it goes along with almost MCG's philosophy with all their games, right? It's you know, they give you just enough information for the GM to run with, but they expect you as a GM to be able to flavor it to fit whatever setting or whatever game. You know, it's crunchy enough to get the game going, but you know, but doesn't give you as much fluff as say other systems. You know, that want to write everything out. It gives you room to build on the canon yourself.
Which is awesome.
that's a good point, Techman. He said Techman basically is saying that he thinks the Darkest House is a concept never defined by physics, dimensions, or supernatural. It exists, as mentioned, a living something with control over its existence at any time. I like that. You know,
That's definitely a great way to put it.
That's really well put.
Nice. So, we've talked about a lot about this stuff. We've learned a lot about some of the mechanics, what's the app is really all about, or the, I don't. It's going to be an app, right? It's not like a
Right.
web. All right, yes, awesome stuff. Do you guys have any final thoughts that you haven't shared already about this project? Bless you.
Excuse me. The only thing I could come up as a final thought would be to tell you, embrace it just like we say embrace Cypher system. Be ready to paradigm shift because it's not typical. It's not anything you've ever dealt with before, but it is. I mean, you've done this before, but you haven't. And I think it's the same thing. You go in the house and you may not come out.
Ant?
Yeah, I think that MCG is trying something new, like how they did with Numenera when they first started, messing around with the concept of Numenera. And I think this is an interesting direction to go. I think this is a game that, like I said, it's probably going to affect multiple companies because it's going to be like almost like a new way of doing things. This idea of doing a purely digital format and being able to one, I think it's going to bring the cost down of a lot of things. I'm curious to see what the price point on the Kickstarter is. I'm curious to see how successful this product is going to be. And ultimately, I had a really great time. I had a lot of fun playing it, and I'm really excited to see what the finished product is going to look like.
Yeah.
Yeah, super exciting. Just one quick other question, since Infinite Construct asked, I think it was asked a couple of times during the course of the stream here. Was there any mention of PDFs being available for the resources that are going to be within the product, or is it just going to be straight links from the app itself,
Yeah.
or any mention?
I don't think. I think it kind of defeat the purpose if it's put out in a PDF because that's not what the product is. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Makes sense.
I would say, I mean, that's exactly what I would say. I doubt that there's going to be any PDF or anything like that because it's a self-contained idea.
Mm-hmm.
It literally is a purely digital experience. I mean, and what I even find cool about it, I just sitting there thinking about it. Just think about, because of the way it's designed and the whole concept. When we go back to being able to be in the same house, you could use this for atmosphere right within your own home, putting it up on, our big 65 or 75-inch screen TVs, dimming the lights. You're running this game and you're throwing these massive images up there. It literally changes the scope of how we're going to, experience this. And I think, again, like I said, paradigm shift. People let go of what you think you know and learn this thing, embrace it. Because Anthony has said it, I've said it, honestly, I think it might revolutionize, gaming, especially through digital media.
Yeah, awesome.
I mean, does the chat have any more questions? Did you guys see anything that we didn't touch on?
No, I think we touched on basically all the stuff they've been asking. Yeah, it sounds so cool. I'm kind of sad I didn't couldn't link up for the playtest. But it'll be in our hands soon, hopefully. What was the expected release date again? You said Kickstarter March 16th.
The Kickstarter is supposed to start on the 16th, and they said somewhere in May we should be getting the actual full-on product.
So, like what I said earlier, that's going to lead you to believe that this is pretty much almost entirely done, maybe, or close to it, because if they're going to be able to give you the finished product in 2 months after the Kickstarter, this is one of those Kickstarters that you're going to get your product almost as soon as it's not like waiting a year and a half for your stuff. You're going to get it almost instantaneously. So that's another thing to be excited about.
Yeah, actually, that's like, and I guess, when you think about it, Ant, I guess probably, that's going to make another huge thing, turnaround time, with these type of products. So.
I'm definitely very excited. I've definitely grown a huge love for horror games after Anthony's played me in a couple of them. It's definitely become one of my favorite genres to play and run in Cypher System, or I guess in general. You know, they're always fun.
I know Dean touched on it a little bit. We didn't really. It's also spooky as shit. Some of the stuff we did was actually. I mean, Dean spoke about a little bit of it. Yeah, some of the stuff was really what you could see that Monty had his pen game out because some of it was really really cool. Like the rooms we did visit, like we went to this one room, and it was funny because Zach, there was like this hole in the floor, right, and like we heard noises, like guttural noises, and we saw that it was like dark down there and it was like shimmering water, right? So we wanted to see if something was down there. So we took like this candelabra and threw it down the hole. And as soon as the splash hit, all these zombies like came out from the water, and it scared the shit out of us. So we like closed the hole and ran away to another room. It was hilarious. But it was like the image that Bruce showed, the way it was described, the way it was just like a jump scare. It was really cool.
And that's the other nice thing about it. One of the coolest things about it too is that because just from the stuff that I was shown, individual GM interpretation is going to make it another crazy ride, because everything that you encounter will 90% of the time be something different. Like what Anthony said about the room with the hole. We didn't make it to that room. We made it to a room where there was a shadowed figure standing by a bookcase, and the closer we got to it, you know what? We all had to make a roll. Somebody failed to roll, and it was like, tell us your biggest fear, So we all ended up telling our fears, and it started manifesting stuff. So it's like, what's going on in here? And it was really kind of cool. And then the figure was turning into crows. We'd hit it, and birds would fly off. Pieces of it would turn into a bird. It was crazy. It was like I said, it's just a lot of things, and it's all in what GM is going to interpret these horror elements and how you're going to, bring them to life for your players.
Eric Frankhouse asked, what is the goal for this game? Is it to get out of the house? I think it's twofold. I think you could play it to escape the house because the house like tries to stop you from leaving, or you could figure out the mysteries of each section of this house, because there's like a concurrent mystery happening, that like clues that you have to solve. So you could play it as a like a horror mystery game where you're trying to solve what's going on in the house, or you could play it as I'm trying to get the fuck out of this house, and the house is stopping me from doing so. So I think it could be played either way.
Like, yeah,
from what I understood.
Yeah, I mean, I see the same thing. I mean, it's like I said, it's just the whole thing is like really off the wall, and I'm like down for it.
It's definitely exciting. One other question here is, can you leave the house and come back, or are you stuck until you can escape?
We tried to leave immediately once we got in the house, and it did not work for us. So I don't like I said, we only played like 2 hours into this game, but from what I gathered, you can't. Like, I think you have to find an alternate. Like, you can't just the door you walked in, you can't just walk out.
Yeah. Once you're in the house, you're in. And like I said, I mean, there were literally parts where you got the impression that the house was laughing at you, maliciously, like, stupid. I got you. I mean, you literally get this impression. It's like, so. Yeah.
Sorry, I was talking about a movie in the chat.
I was just looking at everybody's, but yeah, grave encounters. If you want to be ghost hunters, whatever. Yeah, you can do whatever you want. The dark, and like I said, it has you know, the five different elements, and then you're, of course, the major league sixth element, which is the house itself, you know, and the house, like, literally is involved throughout your story. So that's just like hella cool.
And once again, just to put the disclaimer out there, just remember we three idiots chatting about gaming. We only played 2 hours worth of this, so we're giving you what our interpretation of that 2 hours was. So don't go screaming at us if on March 16th is something entirely different on the Kickstarter. This is the impressions we got from our 2 hours of playing.
That's true.
Great disclaimer. Do not come with the torches and pitchforks if what these guys say is a little inaccurate come Kickstarter day.
Yeah, 'cause this is what we got in our 2 hours of gameplay.
Oh boy, but I think this is a pretty good place to call it a night. This has been an excellent discussion. We got some great answers to some great questions.
It's not a fantasy game. It's not a. It's whatever you want it to be. Somebody said it's a fantasy game. We never gave that impression.
No, I think that was a joke.
Oh,
It's Jesus. He jokes around a lot.
oh.
Hey, given the contrast, said roll for torches and pitchforks.
See, we're already getting derailed. Anthony, I'm gonna let you do your
If you want to
thing.
come get us, I'll quickly give you Dean's address. Get him first. He's the oldest.
Listen, I'm gonna tell you right now. Yeah, you come after the old guy if you want to, but old age and treachery is a mean thing. You may not make it out. Talk about the darkest house. You gonna come to Dean's house is another story.
All right, Anthony, you want to do our spiel?
Yeah, if you like us and you like what we do, visit the Cypher Unlimited Discord server. We have the largest fan-run Discord server with over close to 4,000 members, where we have Monte Cook Games, Numenera, The Strange, Invisible Sun games being played almost daily. People chatting about all sorts of stuff, MCG. So come visit us there, or give us a follow on Twitch, or sub on YouTube. We're trying to get 1,000 subs on our YouTube channel, so we greatly appreciate it if you head on over there and give us a quick little sub on our YouTube channel, where we post all our streams the following day on YouTube. Visit our online store and pick up this cool Cypher Unlimited merch like I got on today. Check it out. I actually got my hoodie on and my hat. Dean got his personalized. Yes, you can get personalized shirt as well. You know, or give us a little donation on Ko-fi. Like I said, our videos will always be free, but every little bit helps. You know, a little Ko-fi donation helps us with little things like Zoom costs. But our content will always be free, and you know we love you guys. So whether you like us or you don't like us, you hate us, just sub and you know, hit that like, share, subscribe button, the notification button on YouTube. You can post comments and tell how much we are assholes. We don't care. We just want the interaction. We love you guys.
Oh, and Dean, any final thoughts?
Nah, man, I'm good. You know what, Eric, as usual, good to see you, buddy. Everybody out there, you know, come back, see us next week.
And for those who may have missed the beginning of this, you can check out the VOD on our Twitch channel as soon as this is over, and it'll also be up on YouTube tomorrow. Thank you all so much for stopping by, listening. It's been a pleasure. I'm very excited about The Darkest House. It seems super cool. Hopefully March 16th has some nice surprises. What?
Eric said he has a game he's want to run for the three of us. When? When? We've been waiting.
We could do that offline once Dean closes us out.
Yeah. Once Al closes us out.
Yeah,
But either way, thank you all so much for stopping by. It's been an absolute pleasure as usual. We'll see you guys next week. And from us at the CU, we will see you later.